All right, timing's off. That's all right. Hi. Um, okay. Timing's off. Just checking some stuff. Okay. Because I've padlocked my account on X, so I just wanted to check if it was working. Let me just check my sound. All good, 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 good. Give me one sec. Chat's off by default unless we start chatting, and then I turn it back on. Okay, so hang on a sec, because it's very distracting when chats pop up and I, end up getting derailed by it all. And I prefer, it's like, if we have an interesting conversation, then I've got to figure out a way to, incorporate the chats a bit better so that I can just select the chats. But Restream doesn't really allow for that with the current setup. But, I'm working on it. I've talked about this a few times where I'm reconfiguring some of the things. I'm just doing this for muscles and talking about some stuff. Okay. My friend Sue on Twitter actually asked me in response to this video. It didn't come up on the chat, but she asked me why I've padlocked my account. And that's a little bit why I'm talking about, what I'm talking about with X. Like admitting that I was just wrong on so many levels about this. And I think that it's actually quite weird. But so it's the reason why it's called like wrong for the right reasons and right for the wrong reasons, right? Is that my general observation around some of this stuff, when you're in the business of sort of analysis, especially sort of technology, future stuff, complex problems, you're not going to be right all the time, right? You're not going to, you're not always going to be correct. In fact, if you put yourself out there often enough, you're going to be wrong a lot, right? But it has been very strange because there have been a few interactions with people who they're not like in technology, they're just influencer types, right? And they're sort of gloating, right? I told you so. I told you so. Well, yeah, but you were still speaking out of your ass. You weren't actually doing analysis. And it's like, you got lucky. And it's like, okay, so, to answer the question about why I've padlocked my accounts, because I have basically decided to just gradually sort of step away from X as a platform as my sort of main platform, right? I know it sounds very strange to people, but, some people hang out on Facebook, some on Reddit, some on, Twitter, now X, but I'm calling it Twitter, some on LinkedIn and that sort of stuff, right? So everyone's got sort of their primary hangout, right? And mine's always been Twitter. But and Threads is dog shit. Blue Sky's dog shit. I don't like any of them. So I just decided to dial it back, padlock it, wait, just wait and see, lay dormant, take the opportunity to unfollow a bunch of people, purge followers on my account, because obviously my account is dog shit. So it's been so littered with bots and mass reporting and all of that sort of stuff that it's just an opportunity for a cleanup, okay? Trying to sort of salvage it in case the fucker sells it again and we have a fixed app, okay? But for now, I don't want to see fascist bullshit. I don't want to see blue check marks. I don't want fake accounts. Like, that was not I've talked about this before in previous streams, in the last couple of streams, where I'm happy to admit that I was wrong about this. It's not like it wasn't. There's a difference between like a calculated guess where it doesn't go the way that you thought, and talking out of your ass and just guessing and getting lucky and being correct, right? It's not analysis. It's where it comes from matters, and the process you followed matters. It's not about being right or wrong, right? I'm on record as saying I'm 50-50 on whether this would actually work. Like, there were problems with the original Twitter that I had hoped would be fixed. Obviously, I've been wrong on many things, but put yourself out there then. If you think that you can have a strike rate as good as mine, then why don't you set up 600 and something hours of footage and see what your strike rate is, okay? I do go out of my way to make sure that I'm correct as much as possible, and when I'm wrong, I own it and I go, okay, well, and then I look at why I was wrong and what I got wrong. And for me, I assumed that Elon Musk was not as far down the rabbit hole as he clearly is, okay? Obviously that, he's been radicalized. There's not much you can do. I thought that there was a benefit of the doubt thing, that maybe he was sort of doing enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing. I talked about this on either the stream before this or the one before that, where, he's alienated enough on the broader left of the political spectrum, if you believe in such things, and to the point where he's become financially dependent on crypto bros and far right accounts. People, like people like me can just go elsewhere, and most people are hanging out on LinkedIn now, and LinkedIn's providing more focus. It helps me to have better quality discussions, and it's more, it's the kind of people I want to hang out with, are people who are professionals. They're consultants or business people or experts in their field, and LinkedIn seems to be where a lot of people have landed, unless you're like a Insta-ho model, and that's not my thing. It's not. I just, Twitter kind of bridged a gap for me there, where a lot of professionals were hanging out, but now it's just Gab. It's just just shit. So, obviously I'm quite emotionally attached to the app. That's, I think a lot of people are, but I don't need to see that shit. So the reason why my account is padlocked is because first of all, I want to be able to check for follow and unfollow. And when you padlock your account, the person has to request to follow you. So I can see, followers and stuff like that. So I can sort of track that. That's for sort of scripts and mass reporting and that sort of thing. But also it's so that I can sort of go through and purge my followers, mute people, curate my feed down to the absolute bare minimum. We have to accept that we can't leave. Like, it's still a tool for certain things. I hope it turns around. It may well do. I've copped the brunt of it. There's no Twitter support. They are just there. There's just nothing. There's no support for anything. And they were promising that. they were promising access to support, but instead you get access to some stupid grok and stupid AI. It's like, no, I just want support. I don't want anything else. I just want support, right? And I just want to be able to fix my account, and they can't even do that, right? So obviously, whatever the fuck's going on there, I hope they turn it around. And but in the meantime, I don't have to read that shit. I don't have to argue with cookers on the internet. I don't have to be harassed by people who are, frankly, quite beneath me. Okay, so I'm on LinkedIn. That's where a lot of the technology people and sort of problem solvers and builders have sort of landed. Threads seems to be for like wokies that don't use LinkedIn. They're like the kind of the influencers and stuff have landed on Threads. Blue Sky, it's all right, but I think it's just Twitter fatigue. I think that it was one of those things that was a moment. It was a fleeting moment, and it has passed. And it's a shame, but let's wait and see. But for now, I check obviously a couple of times a day, but I just want to focus on the handful of people that I do value on the platform. Still use it for news, but otherwise it's just a massive exercise of purging people, right? But it is weird because you've got these people that were just like, well, I knew that it was going to do. It's like, no, you didn't know shit. You didn't know anything. You made stuff up, and where it comes from matters, right? The fact that you were right about Elon Musk doesn't mean that you were right. You weren't right for the wrong reasons, okay? Just because you passively accepted funk pieces from the meanest people on the internet and just happen to be correct, it doesn't mean that you are more knowledgeable. It doesn't mean that you have the right to gloat. I mean, I'm annoyed that I'm wrong. I've been wrong so many times before, but that's the nature of doing the work that I do, which is that sometimes things are emerging. It's not clear. Like another thing that I've been wrong on is, ChatGPT and large language models and AI, right? I've flipped on that because I started to see the harms. I am now fully on the doomer side or the safety side when it comes to AI, because it does need regulating, because I do see that people are way over promising. They are hyping technology that is not fit for purpose. It is not good. And, there's too many problems with it. I'm working on some of that stuff, right? But also I was wrong on some of my thinking around things like ESG, right? Because I think that, you go through this thing where there was it's an audio book. It's only 3.5 hours and it's called 4 Futures. Okay. And basically it does just do 4 very quick chapters around the future and what the future looks like. And there are, there are options out there, one of which is, nihilism and this, this end stage capitalism. We're going to collapse. It's extermination, war, all of those sorts of things. Okay. But that's not inevitable. Okay. And also, things like ESG. And it's like, it's very easy to become cynical around, some of this sort of woke washing stuff. But at the same time, are you sort of in the party? Are you actually actively doing anything? Or are you just sitting on the sidelines and whinging? It's easy to be right when you have nothing at stake. Wrong. It's easy to let's use the example of Twitter, right? It's easy to sit back on the sidelines, not engage with anything in good faith, not be charitable, assume the worst, not do any reading, not bother to learn, and just wreck things, okay? And yeah, good on you. You happen to be right about Elon Musk because you don't like the guy. Well, so I don't like the guy either, but I was also a bit more charitable. I acknowledged the problems that existed. I went through a process. I reverse engineered a lot of it. I have documented an awful lot of that stuff. And it's not about whether you're right. It's the same mindset that I'm seeing with tech bros, right? Which is that the end result isn't everything. Like this mid-range, oh, wow, good on you. You're 50-50. You're 50%. Wow, okay, you flipped a coin and you're right on this. Okay, well, you still only flipped a coin. It doesn't mean that you have done the work, engaged with anything in good faith, know how tech works, put yourself out there like I have online going, okay, no, this is what, may happen. This is what may, let's steel man a lot of this stuff from a product point of view and from the algorithms and stuff. This is the stuff that I want to see fixed. Same thing with the blue check and the, premium. I thought that credit card verification may be solving that problem. That was a hypothesis. When you're in this business, a lot of it is about hypothesis and testing, and then you learn and you're proven wrong, right? That's part of the process. It doesn't mean that you sitting there reading Gizmodo are suddenly a tech expert. You got fucking lucky. And it's the same thing with AI, where it's never art. It's not art. It doesn't produce anything. It produces mediocre, lazy thinking. It produces middle of the road art. It steals from artists. It doesn't build or create anything. It vacuums it up and vomits it out. Okay. And it's the same thing with Twitter, right? Or being wrong on the internet. God forbid someone be wrong after having put some work in. Okay. That's going to happen. Okay. That is, and this is, I think, but like, again, I'm not coherent today. This is just like a quick sort of catch up, right? But really, I think I'm really pissed off about this because there's people who just they just use tech. They think they know how tech works. I put my life into this stuff. I have dedicated my life to these problems, okay? And so sometimes you might miscalculate. You might be charitable and go, you know what? Let's give these guys, let's give tech bros a go. I defend tech bros a lot, right? And I've defended tech bros because I understand them, because I've been in that mindset. I've been in that bubble for many years where they truly just have blind spots, or they just ignore it, right? One of the there's a tech commentator who engages with the hype and engages with the positives around AI, but every time you bring up any flip side or downside, he goes silent. It's like they just ignore it. They go, that's someone else's problem to fix. It's not my problem. I'm just coding. And you see that stuff over and over again, and it's like, well, that's a cop out. But people like me who put in the work and actually go, no, there's a real problem here, and people won't listen. It's like you're warning that some things might happen on balance of probabilities. You're not necessarily making predictions. I mean, anyone who's making predictions is not to be trusted, right? But you can do analysis and go, okay, well, the odds are here, okay? The odds are that, this might work, this might not work. You're always working in the grey, right? And that is the right way to be wrong, okay? There's a lot of people who are wrong in the wrong way. Lazy and wrong, okay? Let's just park those people. But there's no problem with being wrong, especially when you're in technology and you're dealing with emerging tech and emerging problems, and especially complex problems. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no problem. And I just find it very weird, actually, that I know I've rambled a bit, but it is just something that I've found as a broader trend. And if there's anything that I can get you to do, which is not be afraid of taking a risk and being wrong, but also making sure that when you are wrong, that you are that you've still done the work, and you can go, oh, okay, I see where I was incorrect. I see what I misjudged. Like with this whole Twitter thing, right? I went in on Twitter. I've decided to pay for premium. I A/B tested, and I looked at the algorithm. I looked at the code. I steel manned the whole thing. But I chose to give the benefit of the doubt to the new management. Okay. And obviously there were some red flags, and I've covered all of that. But I also acknowledged the problem with these organizations like the CCDH and mass reporting and bots and troll farms and all of the stuff that I've talked about at length. Okay. You can just acknowledge that all of these things are true, and you don't necessarily have to be someone who is right or wrong. And righteousness is a hell of a fucking drug, and it justifies an awful lot of behavior. And I'm also seeing that now on Twitter, where people that I thought were fairly reasonable are now just heading into the far right. They're just well and truly there. They're talking about fucking WEF and all this sort of shit. And it's just bullshit. Remember when I made this mug? This was a sample mug that I had printed and made. That I do actually, I should probably start doing. I don't like the typography, but anyway, I'm thinking about like putting some mugs and stuff. But anyway, just for fun, don't be a fuckwit. But what was I going to say? It's just immensely frustrating. It's immensely frustrating that people are just sort of shooting. It's like they're just shooting fish in a barrel, and you know, it's not. I'm not the same as that. I don't just make stuff up. Okay, I might riff and I might sort of meander, and that's what these streams are for. But I do go away and I do the work and I read the journals and I do my research. I do try to be correct, and but then you've got all these people who just talk shit and they get lucky, and then people act like they're thought leaders or geniuses or something. It's like, well, no, they're still lazy. They still just made stuff up. They still just mindlessly shared information based on, you know, a narrative. They didn't actually look into anything. There was nothing that they actually did that was of value. They didn't follow a creative process. They just nicked it. They just stole, you know, engaged in thinking as a service, and they pay a subscription and they get told what to think. And it's like, well, you know, that's not like the same as me. Okay. And it is funny because I sit there and I go, well, is that cope? Is it cope? You're just wrong. It's like, no, I've been wrong before. I'm quite happy to be wrong. You know, you're going to look foolish from time to time when you put yourself out there. That's just part of it, right? Bombing is part of getting on stage, is part of the performance. It is all part of it. And what I want to see is I only tend to listen to people who are also putting themselves out there in a similar fashion and are doing the work, okay? If you are in, you know, future studies or whatever, you know, anything that's like an emerging problem, right? Complex emerging problem. Or, you know, global in nature. Like, things are unpredictable, right? You're dealing with a lot of different variables, and you know, your experience can often help you to make some predictions. But you know, I'm not in the business of predictions. I'm just saying, well, this is what might happen, what might not happen. This is the best case scenario. This is the worst case scenario. Here's an idea on how we can do stuff. Here's who I can connect you with. Here's who we can talk to. And here's how we can sort of rally around this problem. And it is really interesting because being back on LinkedIn, it is something that is just, it's infected people's brains. And again, I don't think it's new, but it seems to be a growing. Okay. Again, I'm not sure if it has always been this way, and it is just, you know, there's an availability heuristic because I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, I'm noticing it more. But there's this tech bro mindset, and that it's not just limited to tech bros, but this idea that there is only one solution for every problem, or that complex problems just have one solution. Like, it was really funny. I had this interaction the other day, and I was talking about UX, user experience people, UX research. And I said that basically, if you're a psychologist, you need to be registered with the psych board and anything. And if you're, you know, doing psych research, you need to go through an ethics committee. If you work at Facebook and if you're doing user experience and doing unethical nudges and you know, you're basically effectively doing unethical non-consensual experimental psychology experiments on users. And as such, that should be regulated, right? That should be something that needs to be a benchmark, which is that if I have to go through a board or get a degree in psych or do whatever to do what I do, then they should too. Okay. And again, I'm UX, but I'm saying I'd be quite happy to be accredited in that stuff, right? If I'm going to be a lawyer or a mediator or anything, if you're a counselor, if you're a forklift driver, you need a license. Okay. But yet, you know, technology people are allowed to just do these things and steal from artists and take what they want because the government hasn't caught up yet. And, you know, they will, but you know, you need to be regulated in all of these things. And I think that anything that touches an end user or a customer, you should have some sort of like registration or license. You can't just go around doing nudges and, I've talked about nudges at length. So, but you can't just go around nudging people and radicalizing people and like doing all of the shit that you're doing, right? Manipulating people without consent, first of all, but also without oversight and an avenue for correction and appeal, right? I'm on painkillers, so I'm a little bit loopy, but so there's, we were talking about that, and I just happened to be mentioning that, and then he said basically it was like, well, that's hard to regulate, that's going to be hard to police. I went, well, yeah, everything that's policed is hard to police. That's what the police are for, which is to, it's not just that's illegal now, people just have such primary school ideas about things, which is like everything has multiple ways to approach a problem, right? Which is you've got make it illegal. There's a bunch of, I talked about this before, there's a bunch of people who just by virtue of it being illegal will go, okay, that's illegal, stop, okay. Then there'll be people who will justify it and rationalize it, and they will probably need a fine or something like that as a disincentive, okay. Then there's the people who will just ignore the law and do it anyway, and they should be, that could be criminal or fines or whatever, right? There's mechanisms for that. And that's like saying, oh, well, all murders, people are going to murder anyway. Let's just make murder legal. It's like, that's not really how society works. What you have is a bunch of different levers. So to prevent, first of all, you make sure that people are, fed, clothed, looked after, basic needs met, mental health care, all those things to make sure that there's, that has a long-term end result of, hopefully having fewer murders, right? Then you have, again, sorry, let me just, I'm on painkillers. So yeah, I did mention that, but I just want to make it clear. I'm a little bit with my words today, but I'm just riffing on ideas and talking about how I think and how people should be thinking rather than just knee-jerk reacting. Get off Twitter. Seriously, it's bad for you. It's like reality distorting. It gives you a false sense of doom. It is, especially now, it is just get off it. Get off Twitter, okay? Or you limit your use. Put a timer on it, 5 minutes a day, just to check your shit, okay? That's what I've done, 5-10 minutes a day. Padlock my account, and that's just, there's a number of reasons why, but anyway. There's a whole thing on it that I wrote yesterday. But when you're approaching these problems, you don't just go, oh, well, people are going to murder anyway. Let's just make murder legal. It's like, well, no, you have, like I said, various solutions there, okay, that across government and, policing and social work and, preventative stuff. Hospitals, all those sorts of things, doctors, all that sort of stuff, right? All of those things. You've got multiple different avenues in which you can prevent that. So you've got crime prevention, and then you've got policing, and then you've got criminal penalties. You've also got things like, let's not use murder as an example because that's obviously a very clear-cut criminal justice case. But in the case of something like unethical nudges or fucking with people's heads, or but there's punishments for that with the psych board. So you have to register. You can't practice psychology without a license. Okay, you can't do that. So people can complain to a board. That I would say that it should be integrated into the psychology board, but you could have a separate one where if people are breaching ethics, you can have complaints, you can have appeals, you can have a registration process, you can have licensing, you can have professional development. So psychologists have to do X number of hours of professional development every year. You have to, obviously do an ethics training. All of those sorts of things. There are compliance measures that you have to take in order to be a psychologist, right? And that applies to any other field, medical doctor, lawyers, I'm going to be even to do mediation. I'll be a registered mediator soon in a few weeks, and I have to be certified and registered for that and pay a license fee. And because obviously when you're in mediation, particularly in things like the family court, and you're doing conflict resolution, at the end of the day, there's vulnerable people at the end of it, so you shouldn't have a problem with being regulated. Okay, if you're an ethical operator, you have no problem with it. Okay, there needs to be some sort of accessible pathway for those who were in UX from the beginning, like myself. Like there's people who've done it for like 20 years who, for whatever, they're not going to go and do psych training, but you can get certification in various ways, sit an exam, something like that, where and also an ethics class and those various things. There's all these certifications that you can do to show that you are competent in that area, and user experience is and tech is no exception, right? It's so weird, like Americans, where I don't know whether it is an American thing or just an idiot thing or both, or but they're just so to think so binary about problems, which is that it is very strange. And I'd love for people to just give me feedback on how you can persuade people. Yeah, because I'm just a systems thinker by default, right? It's just sort of my natural thing to sort of jump across disciplines and try to figure it out and talk to stakeholders and sort of rally around problems. That's just how I am. And I know that that's not obviously that's not as common as I'd like it to be. It's not that common, right? And tech bros in particular, that tend to be sort of very, linear and like binary in the way that they think. But when you're talking about, it's just astonishing to me how siloed people have become with complex problems, where something as simple as this needs to be regulated, and they're basically like, well, you're send the police over. It's like, well, no, regulation works in there's so many different policy levers that can be pulled to take care of this, right? It can just be, you can have market-based solutions. Now, I'm not saying that the market-based solutions work. Self-regulation definitely has not worked in this regard, okay? You've got, in tech in particular, I know I'm going on a tangent here, but in tech in particular, obviously you've got these certifications. So you've got Google certified, Facebook certified, Twitter flight school, all these certifications. You've got project management, you've got Lean, Scrum, all those sorts of things. But basically what happens is you create an industry of consultants who just sell you a certification without actually, fixing the problem. It just becomes another product for people. But this is why I think that there are certain things that need to be run by boards that are have a statutory framework attached to them, or regulatory framework, right? So, for example, the health department, or the Supreme Court, the justice system registers lawyers, those sorts of things, right? So, and the government administers those boards, and you have to meet those professional standards. Like, this is something that, especially with AI, like, why people don't see that you should have to register. Okay, I need a license to drive a car. Okay, you need a license to drive a forklift. You need to be over 18 to have a drink of alcohol. Okay, why the fuck can some kid just go and get a large language model and access certain scripts and various other things without some sort of recourse? Now, I'm not saying, and this is the problem, which is they go, well, it's going to be difficult to police, so we shouldn't do it. It's like, well, no, that's not how it works. Okay, kids are still going to drink alcohol underage, but if they get caught, then they get in trouble. Okay, that's that. There's a preventative thing there. Okay, it will act as a deterrent for some people, right? As will the fines. So if you make the fines big enough, so I've talked about some of the fines before around privacy and a lot of the stuff that's coming in with the DSA and with unfair terms and stuff with the ACCC here. 6% of revenue, like that's a hefty fine, right? So you need to make the fines and penalties like severe. So you can have criminal penalties for disinformation campaigns. You can make those illegal. And what you is they act like these, again, like these frameworks. Nothing annoys me more than these fucking guys that are like, this is such a complex problem. If only there was an app for that. It's like, you don't need an app for it. It's called the justice system. It's called the legal system, okay? Just because you don't know how it works, okay, doesn't mean that you that there's no, this is, I'm just wholesale done with people staring at the clouds and going, this is so difficult. Whatever will we do? They want credit for that. They want credit for saying that. And they don't actually do anything or say anything. They just want credit for saying, what a tricky problem. And it's like, well, no, there's legal frameworks exist. Get caught speeding, you get a fine in the mail, okay? You run a disinformation campaign, okay? And then they do this fucking rhetorical, who is the arbiter of truth? The justice system. You go before a judge, okay? Because again, some things are subjective, but some things are not. And there are legal tests for these things. Okay, you set the criteria for things. It's like, fucking hell. And misinformation largely comes down to intent, right? Doesn't mean that you sit there and you go, oh, well, that's fuzzy. That is subjective. It's like, well, no, there are mechanisms for stuff. It's called policy. It's called governing, and it is called, society. You can go to the information ombudsman right now and make a privacy complaint. They will then pursue that complaint on your behalf with the tech company, and that tech company gets a fine. And if they don't comply, they get more fines. And if they refuse to comply, then they go to court. That's a thing. So why can't you do that for, the Electoral Commission as well? Like various, again, we've talked about the gaps with political advertising, but you close those gaps. You make it criminal, okay, to do deliberate, misleading election campaigns. And it is, okay? There's a mechanism for that. It's not just people just going, if only there was a solution. There is. It's called the justice system. It's called policy. It's called, fixing shit. And again, there can be market solutions as well, alongside policy solutions, okay? But government should set the bar and go, no, everyone who is doing nudges, and especially if they're using AI, they need a license. And if you get caught doing it without a license, or you get caught doing certain things, you get a fine. And if it's really severe, it's jail time. That's called legislation. And then, of course, you'll get people that are like, that's authoritarian. It's like, it's not. It goes through a process. You refine a bill. And, in Australia in particular, the way that we have is that the law's on the books that you can enforce. But for the day-to-day, go on, take the risk. Go for it. Okay? There's all sorts of crimes right now that you can, the around computers, like cyberbullying, cyber harassment, a crime. If it gets to a certain point, you can go to jail. Okay, same thing. It's not free speech. It's harassment. It's like if you're doing a deliberate disinformation campaign in an election to try and fuck people over, or you are deliberately astroturfing, or you are like doing fake reviews, or running bots, or running troll farms, or harassing people, or mass reporting people, or you can have criminal charges for this stuff. You just need to make sure that like the system is accessible to people. Like I think that there needs to be reform around defamation online. Like you should be able to, I think it's a cop-out for tech companies. You should be able to say that, if I'm being targeted, I've been targeted for years and years with no recourse, okay, with mass reporting and troll farms and all this stuff, and not a single tech company has even bothered to listen. I've had direct contact with Twitter over this. And LinkedIn have been pretty good. Like LinkedIn's been pretty good. But the others, useless. That's not good enough. People can't just be defamed all the time and be harassed and be bullied all the time and not have recourse. So you make the defamation system, again, make the make defamation more accessible in the courts, have it heard by a magistrate, okay, get an injunction. If that person breaches that, you can have a virtual restraining order, okay, of sorts, okay. You can now get an AVO, okay, digital AVO. You can apply for one. That person, if that escalates, or they follow you elsewhere, or they harass you further, or they get caught doing other things, then that is a crime, okay. It's not, you can't sit there, oh, that's so fucking Orwellian. It's like, no, it's a society. Don't be a dickhead. And everyone's just like, oh yeah, everyone's been so radicalized into like this reactionary far right bullshit that they think everything's fucking authoritarian. It's like, it's not. It's called policy. Okay? And if you've got a problem with that, then just fuck off. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say anymore. Right? Which is that you live in a society. You can't harass people. You can't just destroy people's lives with bots and troll farms and innocent people. You shouldn't be able to just do that. Okay? And that's another area where I've been wrong in the past. Now, is there tension there with privacy, abuse of power, all of those sorts of things? Of course. But you have checks and balances in place. Okay? That's what you can appeal. You can, you can, if you go through the justice system, you have an avenue of appeal. You have rights. You have, you need these things in place. Is what I'm saying. Like, you need to have some sort of digital rights that are in alignment with your civil rights offline. Okay, and that is just like, how do you enforce that? And it annoys me because I'm just so sick of people on the internet acting like there's no solutions when there are actually very pretty clear solutions to a lot of these things. Not always. A lot of solutions have unintended consequences. Okay, so a big part of, like with let's use the Twitter Premium, like checkmark example, right? So my voice is still recovering from COVID. I'm going to go in about 10 minutes. But let's use the Twitter Premium example, right? The Twitter Blue example, which was that there was a solid case, like I said, because Stripe Radar. So when you use Stripe and Apple as a payment, Stripe PayPal as a payment processor, they have fraud detection and ID stuff. ID, my brain's not working. ID verification, that was the word, tools in there. So Stripe Radar is a sophisticated tool that detects fraud with credit cards, like not all the time, not always, not perfect. And so the hypothesis there was that, using Stripe means that it will be linked to a credit card, which will be linked to an identity, and Stripe Radar will trip that up, and obviously that stuff will should allow for verification. Turns out not the case, and I think that's a policy problem on Twitter's end. I've always said that it should be you should have to be ID verified as well, and I was ID verified, and it got me nowhere. Okay, so ID verification got me nowhere, and if anything, it made everything just. I had to give my license 3 times when I had an impersonation account, and it's like, well, what am I ID verified for? But you could but what we've seen now is just a whole bunch of far right fascist accounts that are anonymous, swamping everyone with check marks, and it's like, well, that you should at least have an ID. A registered business name, or some sort of way of verifying who you are. Okay, even if the credit card has to have your name on it. Okay, but obviously they've not put in the radar mechanisms that sort of you've got tiers of like ID verification and credit card verification, all that sort of stuff, and Twitter has not put that in place. They've just got Stripe basic like checkout, right? And so that's obviously not worked. Okay, but again, that's the problem, is that he needs the money. I actually learned that he still made money this year. Like, he's hemorrhaging money and he's still net gain. And it's like, well, okay, well, maybe you should just fix the product then, rather than worry about turning a profit right now. and but he's not doing that, so it's just a race to the bottom, right? But I'll wait and see. I always reserve judgment, and I still always have hope that it might get fixed. I think in the lead up to the election, it's just going to be dog shit. But yeah, he's got brainworms. Like, what can I say? It's a shame. It's a shame. But there are solutions to these problems. It's just I'm so sick of fucking dummies just acting like there aren't any answers to things when there are. It's just you need a license. Again, it's not about whether, because obviously people will get around it with a VPN, but just because people will get around it, it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be a policy. Which is like with piracy, okay? It's like there's enough of a deterrent. You put enough friction in place, and you put enough friction in place, and it will deter people, right? It's the same thing with any of this stuff. You just got to make it, well, not just more expensive, because most of them are paid by corporations and dodgy actors and unlimited dark money, right? So money is not an issue, but criminal charges is. If you're running a mafia outlet if you're running a troll farm that harasses people and bullies people and, engages in mass reporting and disinformation and, like we've got the Spam Act here, 2003. We've got, there's lots of other things where you can get criminal charges. They're just not enforced properly. But if we enforce them, I think most people will fall into line. Are there going to be bad actors? Yes. But then police it then. Report. Okay, have an ombudsman where you can make a complaint and you can report people, have a complaints line. And make sure that the fines are hefty so that it's enough of a deterrent for people, right? And that was the hypothesis, I think, with the Twitter Blue, which was that when you're spinning that many bots, you want to make it expensive, but at the end of the day, the people who are running these bots have unlimited money, right? So he's just basically monetized a lot of this stuff anyway. So, and with AI, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Like it's obvious AI accounts, all of the there's the Marjorie Taylor Greene parody, Elon Musk parody. There's all of these Jerome Powell parody. Those are all AI accounts. Okay, and they're all interacting, and what they're doing is they are AI, and then they're also hanging out in spaces, and they're actually using AI voice manipulation tools. So there's an account on there that actually that has a voice patch that sounds like Elon Musk in the space, right? That should be a crime. I'm sorry, but like that's impersonation of like that. That is deceptive identity, and that is that's not good enough. That should be a criminal offence. Okay, deepfakes should be a criminal offence. Now, if you disclaim and have entertainment purposes only and all that sort of stuff, well, then that can be a mitigating factor. That can be a defence. Okay, again, like defamation, truth is a defence. There's all these defences, but we need these. You need policy solutions where impersonation accounts. Impersonating you, likeness rights. I mean, in Australia, you don't have the right to privacy. We need to plug that hole. You've got all of these things, right? Where fair use. You've got with copyright law, you've got fair use as a defence, okay, but then you've got to go to court and prove that it was fair use. You've got the onus is on you to prove that it is fair use in that case, right? If you can establish that, then it is an absolute defence. It's the same thing. So with defamation, truth is a defence. If you're doing deep fakes or anything like that, then obviously you can have some room for parody and some, so long as you are transparent and disclose to the users and all those things, have some rules around it. But if you're doing deep fakes without disclosing it to users or using it for nefarious purposes, then that should be a crime. And that person should have recourse. And that should be a something that, that's not Orwellian. That's just living in a fucking society and not being a toddler. And I think that that's really the only real way forward. There's obviously a lot of other things, right? So in terms of federation, someone suggested it and I've sort of run with it, but I don't remember who it was. But, setting up public libraries as federated instances, so like a Mastodon instance or something like that. And so with your library card, that's linked to a Mastodon account of some variety, right? you can be anonymous or not anonymous, but there's rewards for not. You can participate in the federated universe with your real name. You can do basic banking. You can access the internet in that way. But if you want to fucking access the dark web or anything, you've got to pass a test and get a license for it. And if you get caught using it, you go to jail. I'm not a big fan of jail. I'm just saying in general, right? Figuratively go to jail. Make it a crime, okay? Or you have some sort of intervention, right? We do have a justice system for this very thing, okay? Which is, it's I don't know. People are just, I don't know how to, I don't know how to engage with people who are screaming like toddlers about the law, about how it's Orwellian and how they should be allowed to harass and engage in hate speech and conflate free speech with hate speech and sort of fuck around and find out. I don't know how to engage them in a way that isn't just shut the fuck up and stop being a toddler and stop harassing people. And like there is a good faith argument around like what, I've talked about anonymity and whether that is actually something that can work, right? Because you're still, let's say you are, let's use the library example for Mastodon. It's like, it doesn't mean that you can't have an anonymous account as well. But what we can do is facilitate those, everyone to have access to a Mastodon account with their name so they can transact and discuss and do all of those things, but it's also publicly owned and run, right? It is run by the community, okay? And now America, with America brainwords, they're going to be like, oh, the government. It's like, no, this is decentralized. It is regulated. It's like the free market's not going to be, is no better, okay? So anyway, I'm not going to get into it. I'm too tired. I'm on painkillers. I'm having a pancreatitis flare, so I'm a little bit under the weather today. But every so often I get reminded that I I live with pancreatitis. It is not the funnest of pains. So I apologise for being a bit droopy today. But I just wanted to come in and have a stream. But I'm going to be finishing my website. I am writing a bunch of stuff. But, again, I've been wrong on some stuff. I'm happy to own it. I'm happy to talk to anyone who wants to talk to me when I'm not high off my fucking nut on painkillers like I am today. But I've also got some more thoughts about some of this sort of ESG stuff. And, that's right. I was talking about that book. It's called Four Futures. And basically, there is an argument there for the role that ESG plays in, chipping away at the edges. Like, I'm of the view that it's kind of naive to think that you can sort of capitalism your way out of capitalism, right? But at the end of the day, like, as long as we're mucking in and solving the problem, it's like, well, you can have market solutions to problems as well. I mean, I just don't think that they're as common as people. I think that, you kind of, it needs to be both. It needs to be both government and private industry working together to solve some of these big problems, right? Climate change in particular. But I mean, like we're seeing that with AI at the moment, which I don't think that the market is, well, actually, I'll talk about that in the next stream, which is the nightshade thing, and where the market may, again, I tend to be of the view that you can have market solutions to certain problems, okay? And AI in particular, I think that there is something to be said for a combination of regulation, which is, you have to go through a licensing system. You have to pass an ethics test. I mean, just to get your to get your driver's license, you have to know the rules of the road. Like, that's baseline shit, right? You have to, it's like that, why that, and, you have a system where it's like fines and reporting. And if you get caught, you have a hotline where people can talk about, report an AI and the feds get involved, that sort of stuff. There you go. We're creating jobs. There you go. New jobs. But we're creating making sure that these things have penalties attached. And if you do, and again, it scales up. Punishments can go anywhere from $100 fine to, $1 billion, depending on how egregious your abuses are, right? Or even jail time. That's what laws are for. That's what statutes are for, is that you can set a range and sentencing flexibility and all those sorts of things. That's what law does. It's like it can be degrees, okay? But you can also have the market, which is where those that are operating ethically and aren't stealing from artists and aren't being jerks about things and are doing the right thing, through a combination of public education about like water use and electricity use and the environmental harms and, the copyright theft and all of those other things, which I'll probably be diving into a bit more and writing about a bit more. I've been approached to write a few things and I'm just backlogged on that. But make, public aware of like the one that struck me was the 500 mils of water for every ChatGPT conversation that you have. So every 20 queries, I think it's 500 mils of drinkable water that gets used by, LLMs, right? That's a disturbing number, especially when you can contrast that with, children dying of thirst. You think about it. Okay, you think about it in Gaza, you go, well, again, I know they're not, it's just a thought experiment. It's not like they're obviously physically taking the water out. I mean, this is why tech bros are annoying, because they're like, well, actually, the water would, it's like, no, I am telling you, water scarcity is a very big, massive problem, especially in Australia, okay? Getting water from A to B is a logistical problem, yes, but overall, misusing water in this way is a big ethical concern, right? The exploitation of the global south for sort of training, all of those things, content moderation and all those things. There's so many different things, right? Where if we do public education, as soon as people are aware of it, the market, that's where you can, create that sort of upward demand that you can simulate demand for products that are ethical, right? That's like any other product. Okay, once people know, then they're more likely to demand products that meet certain standards. Like some people are just sitting around and abusing LLMs with no regard for like these things, and I think that putting some pressure on people to use these things as if you are taking water out of like kids' mouths and thinking about the way that you use things and thinking about where stuff comes from, that's a worthy thing. That can be a public education campaign, and then the market will, consumers will demand ethical AI and all of those sorts of like things, and then that's where the founders can create products and build products that are actually and build tech that actually like fixes some of those problems. Okay, and then you've got government and law and all those things, and then so it's always multifaceted, right? And then you've obviously got international law and international agreements, and you need to sort of talk about stuff. But then, of course, the cookers are like, the WEF is going to make fuck that. It's like, what are you talking about? You just fucking read. Oh, my God. It's like, it's not a conspiracy. It's just international agreements. You can still and then they come home and they implement those laws within their own constitutions. For fuck's sake, it's not difficult. Don't be a fuckwit. Don't know if you were here. Don't know if you've seen this, Stephen. Hi, Stephen. Stephen's here. This is I did this sample mug when I was going to do some mugs. And this one's it's a bit big, but I do need to actually, I wouldn't mind doing some more mugs and stuff. Anyway, I finally had my hair cut too. Looks better. Back to dark and short. I like it. Looks better. Looks less scruffy. But yeah, so you want this? I don't like the typography. I wasn't entirely happy with the actual mark on it, but I wanted it to be. I wanted to do something a bit better. And I never got around to it because, my YouTube channel and shit stopped growing. So I just decided that, when you can only do so much, right? I would love, I've actually got some good merch stores and stuff, right? But also, like, I've talked about this in the last stream with AI. Like, there's nothing wrong with using AI per se. Like I said, there's ethical ways to use it. And also, if you are using the work of an art, don't use it for Indigenous art. That's another thing I'm going to talk about maybe next week. Or I'm actually going to write about that. I've already written something about that. So, but obviously, if you've stumbled on this stream, I'm just talking shit. If you've stumbled on from LinkedIn, I'm better in an interview. I'm more prepared. This is just where I waffle to a camera and keep myself like whatever. I will go away and I will write stuff. And if you want me to be on your thing, obviously, I'll be more prepared and able to talk and all that sort of stuff, right? But I do want to actually do some pre-recorded stuff on the dark side of tech. I have got that in my pipeline, but I do want to focus on User Story Hour. You can come on it, Stephen, if you want. I would just, guests from all walks of life. It doesn't matter. I just want to talk about it, the internet. So it's just, I've got all that stuff. I've just got to do the branding, and I'm just, again, I'm always the bottleneck, always. So I've got to get my website done, so that at least then I can charge for news. I can get memberships and stuff going. I mean, I can just use Patreon, but like, I do prefer to own my own. I could actually just use Patreon as the thing and just have you authenticate with Patreon. That's probably easier. But whatever. It's too hard. It's too much to do. But become a patron. Become a patron. Did it come up? Where's the button? Whoop. There we go. If you're feeling generous. Where's my drink? Got my Stanley Cup. Oh. Ah. Anyway. I should actually, I might actually redo the art for this. I might chuck them on my store. And if you're a patron, I'll send you a free one when I've got the money for it. I do need to actually send patrons a gift. I've been meaning to, but I've got like, that was a whole range. That was like baby bibs and t-shirts and all sorts of stuff with the "Don't Be a Fuckwit." But I want to do the art. I want to make it a bit grungier and a bit more. That was just a lazy like design that I did to test, to get a test run on Printful to see what the quality was like. But I do need to actually do more of that stuff. Set that back up again. Yeah. So no, that's good. I should do that. If the demand's there, then that's good. Because the thing is, you only make like $3 on it, so it's not really worth your while. But if I do a bit of SEO and have a few things on there, I've got a Jesus Bot t-shirt that I've been working on. The Jesus Bot loves you, which is kind of an in joke with my crew, which was Jesus Bot was an AI that was trying to convert me into Christianity for about 6 months. It was quite funny. And then we were in the Discord server, the old Discord server, before I shut it down because I got fucking annoyed with it, because I can't have time for chats and stuff, and I can't run. I want to be able to just run a community in one spot, and it's annoying. Anyway, but everyone just started harassing the bot, and it just started flipping out and spitting out like weird random. It was like a funny AI, and we all broke it. It was really funny, actually. So that, we've had those little adventures and experiences over the years. Actually, I should probably try and find the clip for that. And then we've got fuck off Ian. So fuck off Ian, because there was a guy named Ian that landed in the chat, and it was just a funny thing, and that turned into a mug as well. And then I started making fuck off like whoever, like mugs for whoever. So I can make a fuck off Stephen mug as well if you want. Like just having some fun with that stuff. But I just got away from me because everything just stopped. Everything just went to a standstill. So and sort of people dropped away. So I've got to rethink some stuff. I've got to rethink. I need a bit more cohesiveness around my personal brand. Because obviously you've got funny me, but then you've got serious me, and they just don't go together very well. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, how, I don't know what to do there. Because I'm a heavy hitter, and sometimes some of the jokes and stuff and these meandering streams and dumb things that I say can actually be like bad for my brand. And it's like, I've got to start thinking about that stuff. I mean, normally I haven't cared about it, but I do see the sliding doors when I meet people who is like, if I had made different decisions, I'd be in a much better position to make some changes right now and lead some stuff that, at the moment I'm a bit of a liability professionally because I've got such a big mouth and I've got a footprint. And that's the thing, it's like I've got such a terrible footprint. That's why, another reason why I'm locking my Twitter account, so I can clean that up and padlock it and hope that maybe if I lay low for a bit that some of that footprint can be sorted out. And because I've always made myself sort of the crash test dummy for this stuff. And, there's a big part of fuck around and find out there, right? Which is, you can be forgotten, right? It is pretty, it does have a life cycle to it, but at the same time, I talked about that before about, in I think the previous stream or the one before that about, your data, like you don't know where it's going, who's got it, when it's going to come back to haunt you. And, like it is a concern, right? Especially like, this is why I don't really apply for jobs. There's no point applying for a job like on anything because they use AI tools and like they've just given me a social score and I don't even get out of the gate. So it's not worth it. Obviously, if you want to hire me, then you can approach me. But, I can't get out the gate because I've got a footprint, right? And an unusual name. So it's just... these are big problems. Okay. And I'm going to try and figure out the best way to clean that up, but there is no real mechanism to do that, right? There is, but you're never going to fully clean your footprint, but I'm going to try it. It's going to be an interesting experiment anyway. But anyway, I've been waffling. I'm on painkillers and I'm a bit flat today, but pancreatitis, 1 star out of 100. It's not good. It's not fun, but it sort of, yeah. It's not ongoing. It's just like lightning bolt in my like abdomen every so often. But there's always a chance that I could have a full on attack, and that's horrible because if I have to have a stent put into my pancreas and bile duct or anything like that, means I have to have an ERCP, and usually I end up with fucking like an inflamed pancreas for 3 months, and it is literally the worst imaginable pain. Oh, I'm just dreading it. I was in tears just thinking about the idea of having an ERCP. Anyway. But that's what we do. It's what we do. We just get through it. But anyway, I'm going to be back on Wednesday. I'm basically I've really just got to try and get my website done. Uni's back next week and law school kicks in again, but I'm Monday, Wednesday, Friday streaming, rain, hail or shine, or 100-degree heat in our case. So, they'll probably be a bit waffly and meandery and stuff until I focus. But, anyway, I've stuck around way too long now anyway. I'm going to go. But, yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Pancreatitis is so Stephen said, sorry, Taya, that's excruciating shit. Yeah, it is. It's one of the upsides to pancreatitis is that it's chronic pancreatitis, right? I had acute pancreatitis, and then it has become a chronic pancreatitis. Not because I'm a drinker, it's from an injury, from like recurrent stones, and my whole bile duct and everything is collapsed, right, in my pancreas. But I have chronic pancreatitis. So I have I think a 20-year survival rate is about 60%. So, it's all right. I'm pretty healthy otherwise, so I should be okay. But over time, the more your pancreas dies, the less pain you have, paradoxically. But then you've got to have screens for pancreatic cancer, regular screens. I have to have regular blood tests and regular ultrasounds and all that sort of stuff. I've had a good run. I haven't had any attacks in about 3 years, because I had the acute pancreatitis 4 years ago. That was Oh, and it was awful. It's the worst imaginable pain. And I have had a lung collapse, and I have had babies, and pancreatitis, without a doubt, is the worst. Okay. And I hit my little toe at least once a week. Pancreatitis is the worst. Okay. It's not good. And like, you can basically, if you can think of, and I've had actually, when I had my lung collapse, I've had stomach acid leak out into my organs with severe sepsis. Okay. That was not as painful as pancreatitis. Like, it's really, really painful. But only if you get it to a certain point, right? At the moment, it's just niggles. So, you know, it's okay. But obviously, I still have to take painkillers. So I'm a bit loopy. But anyway, I'm going to go. But yeah, so, I just got to have regular screens and ultrasounds and all that sort of stuff. And I got to get tested for pancreatic cancer all the time, once a year. But that's the thing I'm scared of the most, like that one. Because that's the big one. That's a hard thing to fucking fight, that one. Yeah, so we move on. My husband can't walk because he's fucked. He's got ankylosing spondylitis, right? And he fucked his back, so he can't move. We're a pair. He's on endone. I can't move. I'm sitting here with pancreatitis, and it's like, oh my gosh. But we still soldier on. I'm still going to go back to work, and but I still show up, and if I can, yeah. So anyway, do what we can. I love you. All of those things. Soldier on. And we're still trying to change the world. I am thinking about getting a job, but I don't know where I fit. I don't know where I fit anymore. I have been thinking about getting a job, but unless I can sort of network my way in, it's a bit tricky. I'm not someone who fits in. I'm not a box ticking sort of person. My CV is kind of, anyway. But yeah, I'm thinking about it. I want to be a force for good, and yeah, you will see a gradual sort of pivoting. No more culture war shit. I do want to do more around tech, and maybe sort of regulatory stuff. Obviously, I'm doing law school and the stuff, but I'm just trying to figure out like where I fit and where I have the most value. Do connect with me on LinkedIn, because that is sort of my main. I am spending a little time on Twitter, but I am trying to reduce that down to like as little as possible. But you can follow me on Facebook as well. But I don't use that as much. But yeah, I'm just trying to bring it all together and think about, because everyone's on different apps now, and that with messaging as well. Like, I would create a Telegram community or a WhatsApp community or a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group or a fucking Discord server or fucking, it's and everyone has their own preference. I got invited to a Slack channel the other day, and I'm like, oh fuck, Slack's the only one I don't, just too many apps. It's like, oh good, why don't we go on Microsoft Teams as well? That's just but and then I can have things where I've got automations that relay across communities, but then I've got to manage them all. And it's like, well, I can have a Signal group or a Telegram group or a WhatsApp group, and just let me know. I'm not a Discord fan, okay? Discord feels like it's for kids. I do prefer Telegram or WhatsApp. Those are my or Signal. Those are my preferences. But do let me know. You can message me on Telegram anytime as well. That is a good place to reach me. But yeah, I've got a channel on Telegram. I've got to set up those things. That is my preference. But let me know if you want that, and I will set that up. But Discord integrates with Patreon. Discord integrates with the membership plugin for WordPress. So it's always just like, oh, for fuck's sake, all that stuff. It's always just fucking too much shit. I've been looking at Ghost CMS to replace WordPress. But I don't want to be in a place where I'm almost done with my website and then I'm rebuilding it and not writing because I'm so close to being done and I've just got to get my shit together. But I've got, I do need to look at that stuff. And there comes a point where like WordPress becomes a pain in the ass. Because I've got to do some bespoke development and I never get around to it. But I will. I've just got to write the plugin that I want and get there. Anyway, I'm going to go. I've been waffling. Take care. I've got to piss. Thank you for your precious life seconds. And I'll be back on Wednesday. In the meantime, I will be around and take care. I love you. Thanks for watching, Stephen. And if you're watching the replay, thank you. Become a patron if you want to. Never expected, always appreciated. The usual stuff. And yes, hopefully I'm also going to try and get my voice back because I appear to have a vocal fry post-COVID. But so I've got to stop straining my voice so much. I've also got to try and not swear so much. There's a few things I've got to work on. But be a little more professional, Taya. I have been thinking about doing some gaming as well, like using my Twitch channel a bit more and doing some gaming and games commentary, but I just don't know. I don't have enough time as it is, so there's all these things I want to do, but I never get around to. But one day. Anyway, hope you're well. Love you. See you on the flip side. I'm going to be writing today. I've got 3 things that I want to write about and publish this week so that my website, first thing you land on, you see what I do, because I've neglected a lot of that stuff as well. So I need to do a new bio and all those things to incorporate the AI side of things, because I haven't really been, I haven't brought it to the surface, but a lot of people seem interested in that side of things. So being critical of tech and stuff. And so it's time to write a new bio and all those sorts of things. So, but yeah, I will be back on Wednesday. I have decided to get rid of any web design clients, because they're taking, I just, my heart's not in it anymore. It doesn't make me enough. It costs me more to have them on the books than I'm making. So I am sort of phasing that out. So if you know of any really good WordPress people that I can hand over to, that I trust, no dodgy people, actual, anyone who's a sort of freelancer who wants 2 clients, that I can hand over, then let me know. Because I've got, 3. Oh, I've got a couple. Yeah, got a few actually. I want to hand them all over. I've got quite a few clients that I want to they're on the books, and I just want to not get rid of them. You know what I'm saying? Hand over and free myself from that. I do need the money though, so that's the problem. So it's like, it's like that chicken and the egg problem, where it's like they're a source of cash, but it's just, anyway. It's time to let go of the web design business for good and focus on other things. Anyway, become a patron if you want. Take care, and I will be back on Wednesday. It might be not quite the same time. I might do it a bit later on Wednesday, maybe try it early afternoon my time. It's currently 12:20 p.m, so I might do one to start at like 1 p.m. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to go. I really need to piss, and I'll see you Wednesday. Love you. Boy. Thanks for watching, Stephen. Love you guys. Take care. Bye. Forgot about that sound. I've really got to do more sound. I've got the other outro music and stuff that I've done. I just haven't had time. And I keep forgetting. But I'll get there. I plug away at it. This is not my job. I do this for the fun of it. I do it to entertain you. I give the people what they want, which is whatever the fuck this is. I don't know what this is. All right. Are you going to hang up? Why won't the button stop working? Fucking hell. I really got to put some time into this thing. I need an assistant or a producer.